So this last concept that I want to talk about this week is something that's really near and dear to me. It's something that I've created over years and years of study and training, and what I do is I call it green zone training. See, I think most people think that when they train, they need to go all in. They need to train like a professional athlete does right before they're leading up to their big competition. But what really they miss is the fundamental training that's created all in the background. So fundamental training is the most important piece, and that's that green zone. And what I mean by green zone is something that's stimulating, right? Because your body adapts to stimulation, as we talked about the other day. So we need to find the right stimulation. We don't want to overstimulate. We don't want to destroy the physical matter, the actual body, and cause trauma during workouts. But we want to stay within this green zone. Green zone is the optimal adaptation zone. And so I've developed this checklist around green zone during our movement training. And we will continue to use this throughout the whole course as we add in more of the movement program into your daily routines. You always want to think about this green zone checklist. And basically what that is a few standards that you want to maintain during every movement, during every action. And so one of these standards is no labored breath. So we want to be able to breathe smoothly and cleanly in and out of our nose through the workout. That's how you stay in green zone. If you're going so hard that you have to breathe out of your mouth, you've crossed over green zone a little bit. So one of the most important things you can look at is, what is your breath doing? Are you taking these big or are you just breathing smooth through the whole workout? And so if you can maintain that smooth breathing, you can stay within green zone. And then one of the other rules is nothing is momentum based. We want things to be muscle led. So if you can't consciously use your muscles through the full range of motion, you've crossed over green zone, right? So you want to be able to stay muscle led with every movement. You want your muscles to make the contraction, to make the movement happen. And another rule of green zone is no force. And the reason I was hesitating a little is because this is one of the principles that cross over into your daily life as well, right? So not only in your workouts, you want no force, you want to push past your limits, but in your everyday life, you don't want to force things, right? We need to push into struggle a little. We need to push into challenge because we know those are opportunities to grow, but we never want to force things. We never want to make something happen because it should be or we think it needs to be. So you can use that in your life, but also in your movements. You never want to push past where your muscle lead ends, right? So you get to this point and everyone wants to force it just a little bit more, or you're doing a stretch and you get to a turn and you want to use a wall or something to pull you further. That's not what you want to do. You want to stay within muscle lead, because if you use force, you cross outside of green zone again and you put yourself at risk of injury. So no force, but it's the one principle. It's one of the principles that you can use in your everyday life as well. Now the last piece of the green zone training checklist is no pain. This is just, it's a rule, like no pain at all. If you hit pain, you need to stop. So we need to distinguish the difference between pain and discomfort, because pain is a red light. Don't go into pain. Discomfort is more of a yellow light. You want to slow down. You want to bring in your body awareness. You want to get more into your body and feel what's happening. Is it pain or is it discomfort? And that's an actual skill that you need to train. So the more times you kind of play with that fringe of pain and discomfort, the edge of green zone, you can learn to push yourself a little bit further. You can expand your threshold of green zone. You can use that challenge, that struggle to adapt, to grow. But we have to remember no pain, because that's where injuries happen. And we don't want injuries to happen during training, right? Our fundamental training is green zone. Every once in a while, you can cross over and you can go into a competitive training mode where you hit that red zone, you push all out. And every once in a while, a little more often, you want to hit that progressive training, which is more that yellow zone, that discomfort. But in most of your training, about 80% of the time, you want to stay within green zone because that's your threshold of optimal growth. So we want to use these levels to help us grow the way we want to, right? A competitive athlete needs like 5% of the time in the competitive training, maybe 10 or 15% of the time in the progressive, and then 80-ish% of time in the fundamental training. And so I'm really going to highlight that, and most of this course is all going to be fundamental training. You can attain an extremely high level of fitness and health, both, doing only green zone training. So I'm a huge fan of green zone training, and I really want you to adopt this mentality of finding this threshold of green zone and staying within its limits. And you push yourself hard, but not too hard where you cross over. And that's something we're gonna tease out and figure out, but that's a skill that I want you to develop over this course. Green zone, right? We never wanna push too far. We don't wanna go into force, but we need to break impossible. We need to push into challenge. So it's a nice little balance that we have to figure out. And that's a skill to develop. And I keep reiterating, it's a skill because it's something you might not be good at first, but you can develop it as you do it. You need to do it more. You need to fail at it a few times in order to grow from that, in order to learn this skill. And that's my biggest hope for you at the end of this program. You've at least walked away with the concept of green zone and understanding how to optimize your growth, both physically and as well as you can take these principles into your life.